Hello boys and girls, today we're going to have a little bit of fun as we do a very abstract piece with all different shapes and colors. So, one thing you should notice is that Miss Sika has her paper landscape. And I'm going to start by using a black marker. This is going to be the fun part. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to start just by doing kind of almost like either a straight or slightly curved line almost all the way across the paper. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of curve up and then down, and I'm going to kind of have fun right here, and I'm going to do a bunch of different curves just going up and down and over this middle line. I'm going to make them big and small, kind of wavy. Now I'm not going to connect to that end line actually. So I'm going to now just do some more curvy lines going through everything, almost crisscrossing. And notice how as I do this, I'm making all different kinds of sections in my paper. So I'm going to keep doing this where I'm just kind of crisscrossing over, kind of breaking up this whole thing. And maybe at certain points I just go straight across, I go up, but I have all these shapes, and that's the fun part about this, is that when I start coloring this, I'm going to have a lot of fun just coloring all these different shapes, all different kinds of colors. So now I'm just kind of going up and down, really breaking it up. And now is when I'm going to connect it at the end. So now is when I'm going to want to color this in with all different kinds of colors. Now, you can color this in with marker, you can color this in with colored pencil, you can color this in with crayon. I'm going to use marker for this, and I'm going to start with red. And one thing I want to make sure I do as I color this in is all of my little sections that the same color doesn't touch. So I'm going to start with red, like right here. Now I want to make sure that this section, this section, this section, and this section, and even this one right here, that these aren't red. So now I'm going to maybe find a section, maybe this little triangle right here that I made. I'm going to make sure that I'm far away from any other section that has red in it, or at least far enough that it's not going to be touching. That's one thing you want to make sure that you really pay attention to, boys and girls, is that your sections don't touch. The same color should not touch in each section, because otherwise that kind of like spoils this really cool effect that's going to happen. So I'm going to find a couple more sections to fill in and do with red. Now that I have my red sections, and this is definitely not all the red that I will do, I might add a little bit more later, but this is just a good start. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add orange, and the same thing applies, boys and girls. I want to make sure that my orange sections do not touch. And actually something else to note is my orange and my red are actually pretty close in terms of their color. So I want to make sure also that my orange and my red don't really touch. The same thing's probably going to happen with blue and purple a little later on. So I need to make sure that I'm paying attention to that, because I don't want it so close in color that the color does not stand out. We definitely want to make sure all our colors are seen. We don't want them to blend in with each other. I want to make sure everything stands out. Finished my orange. Same thing, I might not be completely done with it. Maybe there's a couple little pieces I want to add later. And now is when I'm going to add my yellow. And my yellow, you know, a nice bright color. I want to make sure that I add it in some nice big places maybe. And just so you know, boys and girls, red, orange, and yellow are what we call warm or fire colors. Warm or fire because it kind of reminds me of a fire, and a fire always makes you warm. Same thing like with the sun. The sun is pretty much all these colors, and it really makes us feel nice and warm. So these are all our warm or fire colors. That's red, orange, and yellow. So now once again, I'm currently done with the yellow, although like my other colors, I might not be completely done. But now I'm gonna move on to green, which is the beginning of our cool colors. And our cool colors are green, blue, and purple. Those are our cool colors. They make us think of cool things, like the shade beneath a tree, or water, like the ocean, or a lake, or a swimming pool, or even the sky. So those are our cool colors. So I'm starting off with green, and then I'm gonna move on to blue. I've done my green, now I'm gonna start doing my blue. And this is like our middle cool color. And this is kind of like with the red and the orange, where this color, blue, and purple, I want to make sure they're not next to each other. So I'm going to start out with the blue, and then I'm going to go on to purple. And now I'm going to add purple, which is definitely not going to be the last color that I add. But for right now, this is gonna give me a nice idea of where everything is, where my empty spaces are. And remember, I'm gonna try and make sure that this is not next to blue on my paper. So anywhere there's blue, I wanna try and make sure that I don't put purple, kind of like what I did with the red and the orange. So one thing is I've got this nice big piece over here that I'm gonna fill with the purple, and then from there I'm going to make sure I'm paying attention to where the blue is, so that way I don't accidentally put blue next to purple, because otherwise it would be very hard to tell which color is which, especially because these are both so dark. So now this is when I can go back in and I can look and see where some areas are that I can fill in with some of these colors that already are there. So like right here, I see I could put yellow. Let's see where else I could possibly put yellow. I could probably put it up there. I could put one down here or even here. This is where you start looking and seeing, okay, what can I put in that's not next to the same color or a color it shouldn't be next to. So this is where you gotta start thinking a little bit. Now once I hit a certain point, maybe if I have some other colors, depending on what I'm using, I can start coloring in some of those areas with other colors. Like up around here, I could definitely do some pink. There was a little mistake here that Masika is trying to correct here. But if I have something like pink or any other colors, maybe now's the time to start filling in some of those extra areas. Remember though, I don't want the same color next to each other though. So maybe I do like down here, as I keep going. And now if I wanted to, I could color in those last little parts, or I could just leave them as they are. It is completely up to you. But this is our fun little abstract color piece. So I hope everyone had fun with this. Have fun with coloring this in, boys and girls.